Hello aspirants, welcome to PW OnlyIAS. I'm here preaching with the daily analysis of the Hindu from 6th of December 2024. Let's begin with today's analysis. So this is a QR code of the Telegram account where you can basically find this particular PDF along with other material that is required for your preparation. So what are topics we are taking today? From the core prelims perspective, the Finance Commission and the issues which were in the editorial today. Then universal healthcare or universal health coverage. Then we have the International Court for Justice and the climate article that was present with respect to India's opinion that has been presented in the International Court of Justice with respect to COP29. We'll see that. Then we have the Central Water Commission, ECOWAS, and Bharatiya Vayuyan Vidheyak. Again, it has been in the news for 2 or 3 major reasons. We'll be discussing that. Let's begin with today's analysis. Main topics: states and the challenge before the Finance Commission. Now, this is basically an article that is written by the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. Now, he basically talks about the problems and the challenges with respect to the Finance Commission and the southern states that are facing. Before we understand this topic and what was all mentioned over here, I'll be taking that in the further slides as they come. We need to understand what Finance Commission first is, and based on that you will be able to analyze what the problems that the states of the southern part of India are basically facing or coming across, and that is why the Honorable Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu also mentions about the issues that are there. Let us see what are the issues that are prevalent. Let's see. First is the Finance Commission. Now let us see. One, please note that Finance Commission is a constitutional body. It is not a statutory body, it is a constitutional body that Article 280 of the Constitution provides for it. The Article 280 provides it is a quasi-judicial body. That means it is not completely a judicial body, but semi-judicial body. That is why we call it as a quasi-judicial body. As we move ahead, appointing authority. The President of India constitutes a Finance Commission every 5th year or such at time which is considered necessary. Even before that, if the President feels that it is necessary. Then composition. The Finance Commission composes or consists of the Chairman and 4 other members, all appointed by the President. The tenure. The members of the Finance Commission are appointed for the duration specified in the presidential order, and they can be reappointed. That is why when the order that is given by the Honorable President of India, it very well says what is the duration of the membership of the members who are of the members of the Finance Commission. So we have it being a constitutional body appointed by the President of India. Composition is Finance Commission comprises a chairman and 4 other members, all appointed by the President. Then the tenure will depend upon what is specified by the order given by the Honorable President of India. As we move ahead, qualifications of the members. The Parliament has been authorized by the Constitution to determine the qualifications of the members in the manner in which they are appointed. It is based on the Parliament to decide their prerogative what should be the qualification of the members. Now, based on these powers, the Parliament has given the following specifications for appointing of the members. Now, what is the qualification with respect to the chairperson? The chairman must have experience in public affairs, while the other 4 members should be selected from among the following criteria. Now see, the chairman must have an experience in public affairs. This is what is highlighted, and that is what, again, it might sound very subjective, but again, it is based on the prerogative of the President of India, but he should have experience in the public affairs. Regarding the qualifications for the other 4 members, they are selected from the following criteria. 1, a High Court judge or one qualified to become one. Next, an individual having specified knowledge of finance and accounts of the government. Third, a person who possesses an experience in the financial matters and administration, and a person who has a special knowledge of economics. So that is why these 4 members are generally selected from the 4 criteria that are mentioned over here. And obviously, the chairman will be someone who has experience in the public affairs. So this is what the composition and the qualification of the Finance Commission under Article 280 is. Now moving ahead. Removal. The Finance Commission removed by local government with the approval of the president. Now see, the removal of Finance Commission can happen as follows: if they are found to be of unsound mind, if they are involved in vile act, or if there is a conflict of interest. Now see, removal over here is talking about the members. How can the members be removed? If they are appointed as a member of the Finance Commission, but these members are found to be under this criteria. If they are found to be of unsound mind, some vile act, some conflict of interest is there, then they can be removed. It is about the removal of the members. Now, powers of the Finance Commission. Power of the Finance Commission is based on the Code of Civil Procedure 1908. The Finance Commission of India has all the powers of a civil court. Like what a civil court has a power, it also has a power. That is why it is also known as a quasi-judicial body. Along with it, evidence demand. Commission has a power to call witnesses and ask for the production of public document or record from any office or court in India. In order to get some evidence or document, they act like a court, and that is why they can ask for any document also which they require for any recommendation they need to make, or investigation in a way, not in an investigation, that means in a proper way, not to analyze something. That is why you'll be realizing that they have the demand, they can demand any evidence from any body or authority in India. If we move ahead, functions, the existing functions, see, some functions do change and depend upon what is present in the presidential order. But there are, again, when we talk about the existing function, the function that are present right now. So what they are? Tax distribution, distributing the share of the net proceeds of the taxes between the union and the states, and allocation between the states of the respective shares. So what is tax collected and how it should be distributed between the center and the state is again one of the recommendation. Now, that is major recommendation, first of all. Second, rules for the grants in aid, the rules that govern the grants in aid into the states by the center from the Consolidated Fund of India. Again, third, tax devolution at a state level, augmenting the consolidated fund of the state to supply resources to the panchayat and municipalities based on the recommendation of the State Finance Commission. So what should, again, it is a recommendation that what should be the devolution, or let us say the grants that should be given to the local level bodies, that is panchayats and the municipalities. And that is also on the basis of the recommendation of the State Finance Commission. Next, fourth, miscellaneous matter, any other matter referred by the president to the commission in the interest of South Finance. Because when the order or the formation of the Finance Commission is done, they basically list out along with these are the other recommendations, other parameters or points that the Finance Commission should take care while they are making the recommendation. So there we see the miscellaneous matters come into being. Next is submit the report. A report is submitted to the president, who lays it before both the houses of the parliament, and the report is followed by a explanatory memorandum on the actions taken on the recommendation. So the good thing is over here, when the report is laid down in the parliament also, there is accountability from the side of the government, who has to answer that what actions have you taken with respect to the recommendation that have been presented by the Finance Commission. The reason for this importance is because Finance Commission is a constitutional body, and that is why it holds a lot of power with respect to that. So that is why when a report is being laid out in the parliament by the president, then what happens? The government has to answer what all actions it has taken for what the recommendations were done by the Finance Commission. That is what important is. Next, criticism. The problem again that arises is it is advisory nature. The recommendations are only advisory in nature and not binding. So Finance Commission might be recommending a lot of things which they find is suitable for the finance of the country, but the government of India might not accept it. That is why we say it is advisory, not something that is binding. And even in the parliament also, the government can respond that this was not feasible in order to implement it. That is why we haven't implemented it. That is what, again, to bypass or counter the recommendation of the Finance Commission that can be done by the governments. Then, however, the government must have a compelling reason. Again, this is important. You should have the reason. You have to give the reason why you haven't accepted a recommendation that is given by the Finance Commission. But again, that also can be bypassed in a way, because the government can say it is not feasible to implement certain provisions. That might create problems with respect to finance of India. Next, discretion of the union government. The union government has discretionary powers to implement the recommendation on granting the money to the states. Again, any recommendation that is made with respect to the Finance Commission that these are the amount of grants that should be given to the states by the center, the tax devolution for that matter also, that also will depend upon the union government whether it wants to accept the recommendation or not. So that means, again, one of the problematic situations which we come across when we talk about the Finance Commission. Now, please remember, this second point also and the first point are also a point of concern when the southern states basically talk about their issues. We'll see that and analyze that. So what are the criticism? First, the recommendations made by the Finance Commission are not binding. And again, what the money has to be given to these states as per recommended by the Finance Commission also is something very discretionary on the part of the government of India, whether they accept it or not. Now, this is again, we remember that government appoints the member of the 16th Finance Commission. This was done in the month of January 2024. So right now, the implementation of the recommendation of a 15th Finance Commission is going on, but the 16th Finance Commission has already been appointed and will present its reports after some time. So what we see over here, it is appointed. And who is the who is the chairman over here also? You'll be seeing that so many, Mr. Arvind Panagaria is the chairman. He is the chairman. And who are the four other members? These. Mr. Ajay Naranja, Mr. George Matthews, Niranjan Daraksha, and Soumya Ghosh. So these are the, you don't have to remember the names. You can just remember the name of the chairman. That is what can be asked if asked in the prelims. Now comes the issue with respect to the southern states which we are talking about. Please see. There are two things. First, with respect to the 15th Finance Commission that is going on, and similar with respect to the 16th Finance Commission also. See, when we talk about the aspect of 15th Finance Commission, we saw that when the tax devolution or what the grants have to be given to the southern states, over there, what are the parameters that are taken? Many parameters are taken. Out of that, one is population. What is the population? Now, if you see the population parameter, over here in the 15th Finance Commission, the 2011 census was taken into consideration. Similarly, in the 16th Finance Commission also, the census or 2011 census data is right now being used. Now, what happens with that, please, is the southern states are the one where the fertility rate and the population growth rate has decreased. If they were using, let us say, 1971 census, which was earlier being used in the earlier Finance Commission, at that time, the population growth rate was more in the southern states. So if the population is growing, possibly what will happen, the Finance Commission would recommend that more grants should be given to these states because their population is growing and the demand is more with respect to the population rise. Now, in the southern states, the rate at which the population is rising is decreasing because the fertility rate is decreasing. That will basically dent the devolution of the tax along with the grants that should be given by the center to the state that will be recommended by the Finance Commission will decrease. This happened in the 15th Finance Commission, and again the aspect of 16th Finance Commission where the recommendations would be coming and we'll be seeing them. We'll see that again the same thing is happening. The low fertility rate. Low fertility rate means lower the number of children, lesser the number of children would be born. Obviously, the population rate will decrease. So population growth rate will be low. So that means the Finance Commission will keep in mind that if the states where large number of population or growth rate is high, we'll be need possibly more tax grants and devolution would be there. But in this case, we realize that usage of 2011 census would basically be counterproductive with respect to the devolution or the grants that the southern states might get. Second is urbanization rate. If you see the case of Tamil Nadu, this is one point. Another point is, if you see the urbanization in India using 2011 census, urbanization in India is 31.2%, which means that 31.2% people are staying in the urban regions. But if you see Tamil Nadu, it is greater than 56%. That means greater number of people are staying in the urban regions. Now what happens is, because of the greater number of people staying in the urban regions, the demand and the problems that come because of urbanization are also high, because the economy is transitioning more towards the urban aspect. So again, a lot of more infrastructure has to be created, a lot of expenditure has to be made, and particularly the southern states where the urbanization rate is even higher. The southern states are very categorically mentioning that this parameter should be very properly taken into consideration, that more devolution should be given to the southern states, because they are the ones who are basically running the country also with respect to a larger number of larger economies being there. Along with it, the urbanization rate being much higher than in the southern states, except for the few places in Delhi, NCR regions and few other places. We realize southern state overall contribute largely to the urban population also. That is why they say we are facing a rather humongous problems of the urbanization. So we need more tax devolution and a greater share from the total taxes that are collected. Third thing they say is tax generating states. If you see the southern states, most of them excluding Telangana, you'll be realizing are coastal states. Now these coastal states again are one of those states which are hubs of exports. Again, export centering industries are basically established there. Various SEZs are there. And along with it, those are the states where, let us say, contributing largely to the GDP also. If you see, for that matter, Tamil Nadu, if you see Maharashtra, if you go a little bit higher, you will see Gujarat also. So these have been contributing tremendously to the GDP. So they say the amount of contribution that we made to the GDP, we do not get that proportionate of the tax devolution that we should be getting. That is again being mentioned by the Honorable Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu over here, that the Finance Commission should take into consideration all these factors while the recommendations are being made, so that we do not get a stepmotherly treatment when the recommendation with respect to tax devolution and the grants are recommended by the Finance Commission. One, on the other hand, the central government should also take into consideration that they are treated as equally as the other states in the northern part, and so that they can also rise, because there is change in the demography and economy in the southern states that is taking place. That is what the editorial was about. So you have seen the Finance Commission and the concern that is raised by the southern states over here. Let's move ahead. What is universal healthcare? Topic 2. There was a small article that was mentioned with Barack Obama's photograph. That was not required, but what is universal healthcare is what becomes important for you. Universal healthcare or universal health coverage, when we talk about UHC, what does it mean? It ensures that all people have access to full range of quality health services they need, when and where they need, and without any financial hardship. That means, in a simple words, there is accessibility, availability, and affordability of the healthcare services. So that is what the important thing is. And for that matter, there is inclusion also, because everybody should be covered, and for them, it is affordable, accessible, and available. That is what is a universal health care coverage concept basically deals with. Now, when we talk about health, we realize that health is not simply you're not having any diseases, that is your healthy. No. Health means, first of all, physical aspect. That means physically you're fine, no problem. Physically, mental health, emotionally also fine, spiritually and socially. Socially, for that matter, let us say you're interacting with people, you have a social circle, because again, if you do not have that, you're isolated all the time, the problem will arise in a long term, you will be facing mental health issues. Spiritually, because spiritual angle basically tells you, again, is a major source where you can be calm. There are also means of even recovering from mental health issues and even physical health issues. Emotional support again becomes important. See, again, it is related to the aspect of mental health also. Again, physical health also. If you're emotionally weak, small things might hurt you, and then that might basically result in, let us say, even hypertension, and other diseases might come up. So realize that health has these 5 components that are there: physical health, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social. So when these things are fine, then you are said to be healthy. Otherwise not. If one of these things are missing, in a long term, you will be realizing that the other things will also go down. Now, if we move ahead, key challenges in achieving the universal health coverage. If you're talking about India, you'll be realizing that we are all wanting that universal health coverage should be there. It is important, it is needed. But why is it that still those problems exist in India? Why? If you see, let me tell you, we'll be studying this and then we'll understanding. See, first is chronically underfunded. As far as the public healthcare expenditure goes, it is limited to less than 2% of the GDP. The recommendation by the World Health Organization is that it should be greater than 5% of the GDP. But in India, it is less than 2%. To be more appropriate, it is close to 1.35%. To be more precise, it is close to 1.35%. Now, second, unregulated private sector leading to high cost of treatment as well as illegal practices. Now you realize this. First, another thing that you need to understand is, even today, majority of the beds, even let us just do certain reports, 57% of the beds are in the urban regions. Some reports point out to 80% being in the urban region. The hospital beds you're talking about. This is hospital beds. Various reports have been there. Hospital beds. So you realize that hospital beds, 57 to even 80% in the urban region. So there is disparity also. And majority of them being in the private sector. Again, problematic situation, very cost is going to be very high. Poor quality of healthcare, including the primary healthcare centers. Primary healthcare centers are the ones which are at the lowest, at the local level. When they are weak, obviously you will have to go to the higher levels and to hospitals, even the private sector hospitals, and they will be charging you a lot. Fourth, rural-urban divide. Again, we have seen that example. In major concentration of the doctors and the facilities are in the urban regions, not in the rural regions. So that creates a divide, and that is why major constraint to the universal health coverage. Fifth, inadequate human resources, including doctors and nurses. Again, we do not have the adequate number of doctors, so that is again an issue. Next, inadequate healthcare insurance. 30% of the population is devoid of the financial protection. So what happens when you're getting some serious illness? Then what happens? You're not insured. Then you're not able to pay the bills. Out-of-pocket expenditure is so high that creates a lot of problem. That is why health insurance penetration in India is very low. Seventh, lack of accountability due to the absence of grievance redressal mechanisms. That again leads to a problem where even if certain issues that arise, they are not addressed when we talk about the patients. The grievances redressal system is very poor in India. When we talk about this, low health awareness, inadequate preventive healthcare. So awareness with respect to these things are low, and that creates further issues. Next, benefits. If universal healthcare coverage is achieved, let us say, what are the benefits that we are going to have? That is why we are talking about this. First, building human capital. That means it will be going to save lives, facilitate education, enhance productivity and workforce. Second, promoting well-being by reducing the challenges like maternal mortality, HIV infections and all. Then we have ending extreme poverty, because you know that universal health coverage basically leads to an aspect where, because of the illnesses that one undergoes, a lot of out-of-pocket expenditure is there, and that basically leads to people going to poverty also. So that is why we say ending extreme poverty is a major dimension also over here. Fourth, employment generation. Universal healthcare coverage would enhance demand for the healthcare workers across the country. Wealth generation, as each dollar invested in health produce $20 in full income growth. Because see, if a person who is unwell will not be able to work properly, a person who is having health issues, a person who is having health issues will be facing a lot of problems. And because of that, what will happen is he might not be able to go and work. That means man work days are lost. And when that is lost, automatically problems will arise. Then what happens? What we say is, today if you invest in the health, proper health, what will happen? You will be gaining in the income generation that you do. Clear? Next, resilience dividend. In times of health crisis like effective tackling of the pandemics. Let us say if you have invested properly in universal healthcare coverage, facilities are available, you will say in the time of any crisis that happens, countries better prepare to deal with it. You realize that in the second wave of the COVID, you saw crisis of such a scale that happened that it became very difficult for the country to manage the crisis. Why? Because at that time, oxygen supply was limited to only few production plants. Not every hospital was having that. How to basically transport the oxygen, then again that crisis came. So that is what we are saying. If those things had been done prior, problems would have not been there. But again, that was something very unforeseen or a situation that happened. But again, we learned lessons from that, right? Seventh, addressing social inequalities, bridging differences in the education and health. Then we have eighth, achieving sustainable development goals that we have to achieve by 2030. So these are some of the important benefits. What are the steps taken by the government of India? National Health Mission envisages the achievement of access to equitable or affordable healthcare for everybody across the country, irrespective of any race, caste, class, religion. So that is what again the major dimension is for everybody should have access to the healthcare. Then we have National Health Policy 27 that aims to have an affordable universal health coverage so that people do not find it difficult to actually pay for the healthcare. Over there, we realize that aspect of insurance comes. Along with it, we realize that work on the primary healthcare center becomes very important, where we see the concept of wellness center comes. That is why we realize that government is also aiming at having structure, proper consolidation of the structure of the healthcare system. Along with it, that is mentioned in the National Health Policy 2017. Then we have the Ayushman Bharat Yojana and the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission to deliver the comprehensive healthcare services. Now we realize even it has been extended to the senior citizens also. And that is where, again, the expansion of this scheme basically takes place, which is beneficial for the older generation that is going to enter let us say, even the late 70s and all. Over there, it is very beneficial for them. Next, 4, facilitating affordability through the price ceiling. So you will be realizing various medical devices and medicines, they have been a price ceiling that is basically imposed by the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority so that the companies cannot sell those medicines beyond a certain price. So that is again done for the reason that people who cannot afford are able to at least have access to those medicines because they become affordable because of that. Next, 5th, National Aggregation Board for hospitals and healthcare providers. And 6th, promotion of traditional medicine system through the Ayush mission. So that, please remember, allopathy is one form. These are also forms. These are even older forms. If you say talk about Ayurveda and all, these are very old, thousands of years old. So we should give equal recognition, and along with it, there are various problems which even allopathy cannot solve, which Ayurveda plays a very important role. So again, this is also an important aspect, right? Okay, let's move ahead. This is again ICJ. Topic 3, India blames developed nation for climate crisis. Now see, let us understand something context. When we are talking about this, we'll seek into ICJ, but what is the context why India said? Just now what happened is, COP29 took place at Baku, right? This was basically under UNFCCC, right? Climate change, for the climate change United Nations framework or the Convention for the Climate Change, under which we realized that this conference of parties took place, right? Over there, the outcome was that the developed countries would annually give $300 billion to developing countries, right? Now what happened is this $300 billion is again considered by India like a mockery. Why? Understand. In 2009 also, in Copenhagen, then also, developed world promised $100 billion annually. For what? The question arises, for what? All these 100, 300 billions are what? To transition or to help the developing countries to transition towards greener form of energy, and so that the climate change impact that is being harming the environment decreases. Now, this is very contradictory. Now, this at that time did not fulfill the promise, did not fulfill the promise. Now, similar thing is going to happen, expected to happen here also. Now, what is happening is the expectation were annually. The expectation was $5 to $6.5 trillion, but they got just $300 billion for all the developing countries in the world. And that also you'll be realizing many would not be coming in form of direct funding. They will be realizing that we are giving you certain, let us say, technology, and we had spent $200 billion on that. So that means out of 300 billion, $200 billion have been spent on the or given to developing countries. Those are the techniques through which they use. So India basically said that with this amount of funding, you imagine that countries like even India, such huge countries, you want to transition towards completely on greener economy. That is not possible. That is why, based on this, in the International Court of Justice, India said that the mockery of that took place from the side of the developed world is again injustice that is done. And they expect us to basically transition towards the greener economy, which will not be possible with this amount of funding. That is why India calls it a mockery. Now, let us come to International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice, please understand, it was established in 1945. 1945. The headquarters is in location is Netherlands, Hague. Composition, it consists of the 15 judges elected by the United Nations General Assembly and Security Council. Functions, it resolves disputes based on the international law, including issues related to sovereignty, boundaries, and human rights. Role in the United Nations, integral part of the UN system, contributing to the peaceful resolution of the international conflicts. So this is again the aspect which you should know, prelims and mains both. Challenges, see, it has no enforcement power. Whenever any decision is given, it is basically depending upon the United Nations Security Council to enforce the decision. If it does not enforce, it is of no value. And what happens, we have Russia, we have China, we have United States, all these very powers in the United Nations Security Council who have contradictions with each other based on their philosophy and ideology. That basically leads to vetoing of the decisions with respect to the judgments that are given by the ICJ, and they basically leads to no action being taken. Then non-participation of powerful members. You realize that in various conflicts that takes place, like in Ukraine and Russia, countries might say we do not agree to the decision, like Russia did in case of the Ukraine and the Russia conflict. Similarly, US has also done. Slow and the bureaucratic procedure, we realize that this mechanism is very slow. It takes years and years for the decisions to come and the judgments to come. That is why again a very bureaucratic and red tapeism. It's full of red tapeism. So that is why it does not come out with any effective decision making. Next, prelims. Topic 4, BJD urges Central Water Commission to suspend a dam. So for us, important is what the Central Water Commission is. Central Water Commission was established in 1945 works as an advisory body. Please remember, advisory body to the Government of India on matters relating to water resources, development and management. It is a statutory body. That means created out of an act. Headquarters is New Delhi. Ministry is a Jal Shakti, which is a nodal ministry or ministry under which it comes. Functions on the Central Water Commission. General responsibilities of initiating, coordinating, furthering in consultation with the state governments for the scheme for the control. Conservation and utilization of the water resources in a proper manner. For the purpose of flood control, irrigation, navigation, drinking water and water power development. CWC deals with only surface water. Remember, Central Groundwater Board deals with the groundwater. This is again very important. CWC chairman also serves as the Government of India's ex officio secretary. Work of the commission is divided among the three wings: design and research wing, river management, and water planning and project wing. So we realize whenever we are talking about dimensions of interlinking of rivers and all, suggestions to need to be made on that. We see over here it plays a very, very important role. Yeah, very important role in that. So that is why this is important. Next, topic 5. In one of the editorials also it was mentioned the word ECOWAS. Now what is it? Please understand. ECOWAS is Economic Community of West African States. Important. So let's see this. Let's see over here. Whenever we are talking about this particular thing, please see. ECOWAS, when we talk about what it is, the Economic Community of West African State is a regional political and economic union comprising 15 countries situated in West Africa. So it is a aspect, right? It is an aspect where we realize that regional political and economic union is there. Along with it, we realize that it is composed of 15 countries situated in the West African region, right? Goal. What is the goal of this union? Facilitate collective self-sufficiency for the members by establishing a unified, integrated trading zone, by creating a comprehensive economic and trading union, and elevate the living standards of the region population. So that is why what they are doing is they are working together as a union so that collectively they can basically benefit economically, politically also they can align with each other, along with it benefit the population of this region. Established in 1975 on May 28th with the signing of the Treaty of Lagos, its stated mission is to promote economic integration across the region. Headquarters Abuja in Nigeria, important. Members, 15 ECOWAS members of the countries include Benin, Burkina Faso, Cabo Verde, Cote d'Ivoire, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Bissau, Liberia, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, and Togo. Now, if you want to see it from the perspective of the map, this is a map also that is there. These are the countries which are the ECOWAS countries. So that these countries again work together for economic cooperation collectively, and so that this is going to benefit the region as a whole. That is what is important. Now, if you see India's connection, India has an observer status at ECOWAS since 2004. India has presented itself as an effective dialogue partner of ECOWAS, implementing the program through regional economic communities, where India is basically investing over here, coordinating with the people over here, along with for the regional development, as well as investments that will help in the development of the economy of region. It endorsed India's bid for the seat of the United Nations, so we have a support of them. India consistently provided the line of credit, that means loans, soft loans have been provided to them, so that in return, confidence building measures with respect to economy is there. Then we realize that Focus Africa program is one of the major dimensions through which India is building better relationship with the various African countries through various loans, soft loans, grants, investments that are done in the African countries, right? India provides strategic opportunity to encourage a means of a southern-south and south relationship, because you know that developing countries have one commonality with respect to politics, philosophy, with respect to colonization. So they basically help in binding each other through various dimensions, which is a south to south cooperation. As we move ahead, Bharatiya Vayuyan Vidheyak. Now please understand, two articles are mentioned. First thing is, This is, we will be discussing what the article is or the bill that has come up. Second, Vidheyak. And other thing is uproar in the house over the Hindi Sanskrit names. Before we go ahead, let us understand, when you read about Bharatiya Vidheyak, it basically uses Hindi and Sanskrit. So what happened is various member of parliaments from the southern India and the parliament said that you are intentionally using those names which are Hindiized and Sanskritized. It becomes difficult for the people to from the southern states to understand. And they said you should give a alternative English word also, because over here when we realize it is also written in English only. Earlier what used to happen when we used to call talk about any word, it used to have a Hindi meaning, Hindi word also, but over here this is itself Hindi written in English. So they said that it is going against our comprehensive understanding and ability, and this is discriminatory nature. Though the Minister of Civil Aviation said that this again has Sanskrit and Telugu, and one should realize that in southern Indian languages also have a relationship with Sanskrit. So that is what was being said over here. But leaving that apart, controversy along, let us see what this basically is. Bharatiya Vidheyak. So what happens, it basically tries to mentions or revamps the civil aviation aspect, and what are the various changes made. See, expected as a bill. Bharatiya Vidheyak, the bill that has been introduced in 2024, was introduced in Lok Sabha on July 31, 2024. The bill replaces the Aircraft Act of 1934. Now what happens? The act regulates the civil aviation sector that was set up 3 authorities. What were there? Director General of Civil Aviation for performing the regulatory functions and overseeing. This is important because this can be asked in your prelims also. The DGCA's role is this. BACAS role is this. This can be asked. So the role of DGCS to perform regulatory functions and overseeing function. Bureau of Civil Aviation Security for overseeing the security. Third, Aircraft Accidents Investigation Bureau for investigating the accidents of the aircraft that take place. Now, central government may issue directions to these authorities, and in further duties can be entrusted to them. The bill retains the regulatory structure of most of the provisions of 1934 Act. So these things were presented in the Act of 1934, which most of them have been kept. Now, what is going on? Let us see. Regulation design of the aircraft. First, the Act regulates the various activities related to the aircraft, including the manufacturing, possessions, use, operation, and trade. The bill retains this and also seeks to seeks to regulate the design of aircraft. Now, understand, this Act, when it is mentioned, it is talking about the Act of 1934. Act of 1934. This bill, when we are talking about, is the bill of 2024. So we are comparing it also. The Act used to talk about regulating the design. Over here, the bill retains this provision. The bill retains this and seeks to regulate. Now, power of the rule. Act of 1934, what does it say? This is a way of basically differentiating between the previous Act and the present bill. It empowers the central government to make rules on various matters like regulation of the specified activities of the aircraft, along with it, regulation of the air transport service, along with it, implementation of the convention related to the international civil aviation of 1944. But the bill of 2024 retains these provisions and adds, this is important, and adds what? And adds that the central government may take rules on radio telephone operators, certificate and licensing under the International Telecommunication Convention. Please understand, what used to happen is, earlier when the pilots and the other people concerned with who wanted to work in the civil aviation industry, they used to had to take license and permissions from various bodies. So it is basically coming under one umbrella so that the people in the civil aviation industry do not have to go to various places in order to get various forms of licenses and permissions. Third, appellate mechanism. Act of 1934 allows the central government to impose penalties for convention of the rules, right? On the other hand, please remember, the bill retains the provisions and add additional level of appeal. That means whatever appeal mechanism was there, we realize that another appeal mechanism is given. So there is greater one more appeal in order to counter the first appeal has been presented over here. So in a way, if you if the decision does not come in your favor, you can again appeal against that decision, that basically of the various grievances and the people concerned with the civil aviation industry. Fourth, the DGCA against the orders, the appeal against the orders of DGCA and BCAS. The bill adds that appeal against the order of DGCA or BCAS will lie before the central government. No further appeal will be allowed against the central government orders. Now, this is something that is added, important. This is what the bill has been. Wherever bill is mentioned, that is basically the 2024 bill, Vidheyak, and wherever act is mentioned, it is the 1934 act. Now, coming to the aspect of multiple choice question. Question 1, options, answer. Question 2, with options, answer. Question 3, options, answer. Question 4, with options, answer. Question 5, options, answer. So this was the analysis of the Hindu from my side. We will be continuing with this analysis further. Take care and Jai Hind.